Right now, if Adam is right, I have no reason to doubt him to what he's saying here. This idea that the tariffs that we could slap on China, the president has effectively doubled from $30 to $60 billion. Now, we run about a $365 to $370 billion trade gap with that country, although you know how this goes, that it could affect more and more products. The fallout from a lot of folks here, the Wall Street view, the Main Street view, ahead of the president, and some words he will have with the Saudi prince. We've got GOP pollster extraordinaire Lee Carter, Making Money host Charles Payne, Wall Street Journal senior video reporter Shelby Holliday. Shelby, obviously the president is upping the ante, and a lot of folks are saying, be careful what you wish for. They're going to come back at you. The German finance minister in this country warning as much, and we're getting more and more of that. But the president is going along with this. What do you think?
So far, he's going along with it.
So you don't think it's just a threat?
I think it is a threat, but I also think he does intend to do something. We just don't know exactly what. That's very common with this president. He kind of throws the trial balloon out there, and then you see where it actually pops. I do think he's serious about imposing tariffs, though, and that's against the recommendations of a lot of trade groups, a lot of businesses, people within his administration. Yeah. He doesn't seem to care so far. Well, I think one question I have is
Charles,
politically.
You know,
it's a honey badger mindset. He just doesn't care. But one question politically is like, why the rush? It seems to be this big rush to a number, to a decision, to an announcement, which looks like it's not thought through. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but it doesn't feel for a lot of people watching.
But it might extract some concessions ahead of time. You know, Charles, one of the things you had raised in one of your many appearances in this network over the last couple of weeks, this idea that, you know, if everyone is against what he's doing, then maybe what he's doing makes sense. I'm paraphrasing here, but do you think that he gets the desired effect and the desired response, whether it's on South Korea washing machines, Chinese solar panels, aluminum and steel-related products from half, you know, our major trading partners? What's the end?
I do think that first and foremost, it's not rushed. I think this is something he talked about for years, even before he was president. Right. You can go back a decade, and President Trump has been talking about this.
But this effectively doubling tariffs now.
Overnight. This was not reported, but China's premier has said that they meet once a year, and this is what he said last night, overnight while we were asleep, that China is willing to widen access to the markets, that they would no longer require transfer of technology from American companies to Chinese manufacturers, that they work harder to protect intellectual property, that they will improve access to service and manufacturing sectors, and that they will lower import tariffs on a lot of things, including cancer drugs. This has not been reported very much. This is the #2 guy in China who said this overnight. I think there's some cracks happening already. As far as the German minister, finance minister, Wall Street assessment, if there was a trade war, Germany would come out the worst for it. You know, we also have a $171 billion deficit with the EU that Germany really has taken advantage of. So the stakes are obviously very high. But if the president doesn't push back now, when does he push back? If we don't have the gumption to stand up once and for all, we're going to lose, because China is gaining on us in so many ways, and our leverage diminishes every time we wait, as long as we wait.
You know, he is right in this respect. Over the many years, Donald Trump has said, for example, with the Chinese, you know, they need us a hell of a lot more than we need them.
That's right.
And he's always come back to that position, that we are the world's great consumers, and these countries that have been taking advantage of us, his view, there's a comeuppance for that. Now, he must have a point when it comes to the fact that it is hard to see American cars in China, to see them in some of these countries against whom we run these enormous deficits. But is this the solution?
I'm not sure that this is the solution, but what I do know is that his voters love this. They voted for him because he was America first, he was going to fight for America, and this was what all it's about. So when you see all of the people out there, all of the elite, all of the media, the 40 companies who have come forward and said this is going to be a problem for us, the trade association, he doesn't care about any of that. The American people that voted for Donald Trump think this is a great idea. They love him standing up, standing firm, getting tough.
No doubt, but are you worried there's the business impact here, that this does frighten people, and to the point that American companies lose jobs, lose contracts with some of these countries?
You know, I would be frightened if he was putting it forward exactly as it is today. But my sense is, looking at what Charles Payne just had talked about with, you know, what the Chinese government is saying, is that this might actually work, that the Chinese people and the Chinese government might actually make some moves to make things more favorable for the U.S. And I think that needs to happen moving forward. So
that's interesting.
I think.
See, I was dead set against this until I heard Charles Payne would say that.
Yeah.
Because no, seriously, he brought up something that the whole world is having you-know-what fits about this. So maybe there is a method to this madness. The problem when you look at it is that the wheels can come off the wagon very, very fast, right?
They can, and they haven't. And I think the world is sort of adjusted to President
because we
Trump's.
haven't implemented any of this yet.
Right, but he does make comments and statements and forecast some of his decisions in a way that scares a lot of people, but it doesn't really move the needle. At least we haven't seen it move yet.
Doesn't move the needle in terms of response.
One of the things I do, right, in terms of retaliation or response. But I do wonder, I understand that the base really loves the idea of protecting American jobs and American industries, but I don't know how they would feel if, for example, their products were more expensive at Walmart, or if some of the things they were buying are no longer affordable.
And would they be able to accept that? Would they be able to accept that?
I don't know if they would think that's
I will say this. I'm not the pollster that Lee is, but during the campaign, I did tweet out on a dozen occasions, would you pay more? And 99% of Trump's supporters said yes. Last week, I put out the same tweet, 99% said yes. In other words, I think...
But those are supporters.
Right. But again, I think they're looking at it... You got to frame this almost like when Americans bought war bonds during World War II, knowing that they weren't going to get paid back for 30 years. Or, just sort of understanding that this is something that the American public, and I think the elites don't give the average person enough credit to understand. Sure, there will be an initial hit. We don't have enough factories to make cheap TVs.
I don't think people know that, Charles. And
I think they know it, though, Neil.
No.
Now, maybe they're overestimating their ability to accept the pain. Wouldn't it be wise for the president then to
warn people, look, you are going to notice that a couple of your favorite items that you like, they're going to go up a lot in price.
That would be great, but also, here's my thing. I think people know prices will go up, and they said they can deal with it.
I don't think they do.
Really?
I don't think they know the impact on them. They support it in the aggregate because they do think Americans are getting screwed. In a lot of cases, the president's darn right on that. But I don't think they're ready to absorb the punishment they might have to. In
their minds, they're ready.
I think in their minds they are ready. I don't think everybody understands the full impact, but I think some people know that the prices will go up some. But I think they think there's going to be a lot more jobs coming in as a result of this than there will be. And that might be a disappointment. But right now, we're at record low unemployment.
We're largely a services economy, right?
Right.
So where is our anvil here?
Well, we bought $505 billion worth of stuff from China last year.
Right.
So, I mean, for two things, you've got a guy who's just crowned himself emperor over there. They're trying to create a domestic economy. So he's on fragile. Their debt, 250% of GDP. So he's also walking a very fragile line.
Xi Jinping is.
Yeah, Xi Jinping.
Right.
So our thing is just who can gut it out, really, probably more than anything else. You hope it doesn't come to that because China has room to make concessions. And if they're smart, they'll do it. And everyone will find a way to do it and save face with their respective countries and keep moving.
But you bring up a good point. We're a services.
We're
a services country. Do we want to be a goods-producing country again? A lot of people think that's moving backward. A lot of people think when you look at the trade deficit, you should look at services in addition to goods, and that's not something the president does.
And by the way, I do believe there's a lot to what Charles says here, because when the South Korean, washer makers were targeted, some of them did, raise their prices, but not nearly by the amount you would think to compensate for the so-called tariff, which leads me to believe the president is right that they do play around this very fast and loose. But is this the solution? I mean, that's the issue.
Look, I've never been a big fan of tariffs, but I don't know what the solution is that's going to get people's attention.
But do you buy the argument when you read the foreign press, as I do?
Yeah.
And the English version, at least. The one out of Milan I get ahead, because my Italian's pretty good. But the one thing I see is that they are just apoplectic.
Yeah.
And they are saying, they readily acknowledge that they do protect their industries, but not nearly to the extent that it deserves this response.
Look, I'm not as apoplectic as these folks are. And these are the same folks who said, by the way, if the president won, our economy was going to be in shambles. And so I think that there's a level of this that we need to look at, because I'm not sure. Yes, he's talking about $60 billion. Yes, he's saying he's doing it by Friday. But is this just a strategy to get some things done, not all of this done? Would I do this myself?
That is the million-dollar question.
Would I do this myself? Absolutely not. But I don't have a threshold for chaos like this man does.